Hi everyone, I'm Claire. Welcome to my channel. For my first video, I wanted to go over some books that helped me get back into reading as an adult and books that just generally helped establish reading as a hobby for me. So to get started, I want to talk about middle grade books. I think, obviously not for everyone, but I think for some people, middle grade can be a great place to start. Especially if you're looking for something a little lighter, you're looking for the antithesis of the books you had to read in school. All right, so let's get started. First book I want to talk about is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I picked this up because I love the movie, so I already know I'm going to like the content and I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. It is different plot-wise if you're used to the movie, but I think that makes it, extra special because if you watch the movie and you read the book, you're getting double the content essentially because it's quite different. So despite this being 400 pages, it was super easy for me to read. One, because it's middle grade. Two, there are very few words per page, so that really helps out. You get the satisfaction and the motivation to keep reading when you can flip through a page pretty quickly. So this is a great place to start if you're into that kind of thing. I'll give a general overview. This follows Sophie, who is a girl who is kind of in the shadows. She's working at her family's hat shop and she's not really loving life. She's feeling unmotivated. She's feeling kind of discarded a little bit, and she catches the attention at some point of the Witch of the Waste, who is this nefarious, evil character, as she's known. And as a result of that, she is also on the radar of Howl, who is a wizard who lives in this moving castle. And she gets kind of tangled up in all of that, and they're gonna go on some crazy adventures. It's pretty simple, there's not a lot to it. The romance is really sweet. The friendships are really sweet. It's just a good middle grade book. I have the same thing to say about this one as well, which is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This was a book that I heard a lot about. I know that adults also like this book quite a bit, so I figured let's pick it up. This follows Luna, who is a girl who was sacrificed as a baby by her village to a witch who lives in the woods forest nearby. There are yearly sacrifices. A baby is given up every single year to this witch. When she's given up, the witch accidentally feeds her moonlight. And this gives her powers, obviously. So the book kind of follows her growing up, and it's part coming of age, part found family, adventure, epic kind of book. It's we go between Luna's perspective, the witch's perspective, and a young man who is living in the nearby village who is determined to put a stop to the sacrifices. So we're kind of learning about the witch as a motherly figure and why are babies being sacrificed every year to her. What's the history of this town? Luna has to figure out where she's from because she doesn't really know a lot about her history and her past. I think this one is really great for starting with because it's, again, like I said, it's also great for adults. There's a lot of action in it. There's a lot of really well-written moments of, I wouldn't say reveal, but moments where you figure out something about a character, and it really creates these dynamic, multi-leveled characters. Great book, great place to start as well. The second category that I'm going to talk about is young adult, and I have two books in this category as well. After I read a few middle grade books, I went up to young adult because I felt like I wanted some more complex plots. I wanted more action, different types of characters, which I think you're quite limited in middle grade by types of characters. So first book I read was If You Could See the Sun by Anne Leong. This one follows Alice, who is a girl who goes to an elite international school in Beijing. She is on a scholarship. Her parents cannot afford the full tuition of the school, and at some point they tell her that they can't even afford the portion that they were paying before. So she needs money. As soon as possible, she needs money to stay in school. While all this is happening, while her money troubles are kind of developing, she begins turning invisible. She has these episodes where she's invisible. She doesn't really know how to control it. It's just happening. So she decides, let's use one problem to solve the other. So she decides she's going to create a business where while she's invisible, she does tasks for other students who are willing to pay a high price. And these tasks kind of devolve into crimes. And that's the big point of the novel, I guess. How much is staying at this school worth? What is she willing to sacrifice to stay at this school? Again, really quick read. I think that's not the case with all of these books necessarily, but I think it's really helpful to read a book if you're trying to get back into reading, a book that you can get through pretty quickly. And again, the intrigue really has to be there as well. So I thought that was interesting. A novel premise, I guess. Second book in this category is Off With Their Heads by, hopefully I don't mispronounce this, Zoe Hana Mikuta. I picked this up because it had low ratings and people said, this is really crazy and hard to understand. And I thought, you know what, let's just have fun with it. Let's see what I get out of it. This is I wouldn't call it a retelling, but it's a sapphic Alice in Wonderland inspired novel, young adult novel. And I could not tell you what this is about. Besides the fact that I know it's related to Alice in Wonderland, I could not tell you what this is about. It's crazy. The first 20 chapters, you don't know where your feet are. You don't know what's going on. Your head is loose. Nothing makes sense. Eventually it will make sense. And eventually it turns out to be a lot of fun. Gets crazy. Characters are super unlikable in this one. So if you're into that, it's a great read. If you're not into fever dream-like stuff, I would skip this. But I wanted to try something new, and I thought, what better way to see if I was going to be into a certain type of novel than with something like that. And I think it came out last year, so I picked it up last year, brand new, thinking, let's just give it a shot. So the third category is general fiction or literary fiction. And the first book I picked up with that is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I picked this up because I heard that Sally Rooney is a great place to start if you're wanting to get into literary fiction, to see if you like it, test out the genre a little bit. I know a lot of people have problems with the fact that there aren't any quotation marks. I don't have any problem with that. I think I can differentiate most of the time, and if I can't, I like the ambiguity. This follows two friends on the cover here, Frances and Bobby, and it kind of follows their messy relationship. At some points, it's pretty toxic, but it follows their relationship and their relationships individually with a married couple that they meet, older married couple, a man and a woman. And the book kind of explores throughout the four of them. I mean, it's from only Frances's point of view, but it explores how the four of them are connected, their messy relationships. It explores marriage to some extent, post-university friendship, friendship from childhood, relationships with parents. It's about relationships, really, and it's about the conversations that we have with our friends. Super quick read, super easy read if that's what you're looking for to get back into it and you just want to see people just as they are, like very low plot, just people. That's a great place to start. The second book in this general fiction category is The Rachel Incident, another college age type general fiction book. This follows Rachel and her best friend James, who she actually meets in the book. Their relationship is not necessarily toxic, it's messy, but I would say it's more codependent. I would say that Rachel and James rely on each other for certain things that they shouldn't, maybe. I don't want to give too much away. But anyway, they're living together as roommates, and they, on their own, develop a relationship or infatuation with a professor who works at Rachel's university. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a lot past that because it kind of unravels for each of them. There's this unraveling of what they thought they knew about each other, their interactions with each other, and who they want to be friends with and who they want to have relationships with. And it kind of culminates in this big event, the Rachel incident. It's a great start. It's very intriguing. It kept me pretty captivated. I wanted to finish it. I wanted to know what was going to happen. And I think the characters were pretty likable for the most part in certain ways. And I think they're really realistic. And I really like that about this book. The last category that I wanted to talk about that I got into was thrillers. So I have two thrillers I'm going to talk about. The first one is Lucy Foley's The Guest List. I picked this up because I figured, just based on what I'm into in television, I figured I'm going to like a thriller set on an island around the setting of a wedding. I just figured I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. It's multi-POV. It's at times hard to follow, maybe just for me. But there's a lot of short chapters. It alternates. Each chapter is a different point of view. And we're kind of trying to slowly figure out who's the killer. There's a murder that happens. Yeah, one of them is a murderer. They all have a secret, they all have a motive, but one of them is a murderer. That's kind of the premise. It's pretty basic in premise, but the reveals are really fun. It's twisty. The chapters are really short, which helps a lot. I love books like that. So the last book that I'm going to talk about today is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, which I think might be Riley Sager's most popular book. But I picked this one up because I heard about it everywhere. And I wanted to read another thriller after reading The Guest List to get a better idea if I was going to be somebody who wanted to read more thrillers. But anyway, there's a house on this mountain, hill, cliffside. And there's a woman, an elderly woman who lives there, and she needs a caretaker. So our main character, Kit, she's hired to be the caretaker of this woman. And she gets there and some weird stuff starts happening. There's a weird history of missing people who have died, and she starts to investigate, and she's trying to uncover what's going on. Why is there weird stuff going on in the house? Why is the relationship between certain people who work at the house kind of odd, kind of strange? This one floored me, jaw on the floor. I had no clue what was going to happen. I did not guess any of the reveals. It was a whirlwind. Loved it. All right, so those are all the books that helped me get back into reading. Generally, as an overview, I think what's similar about most of these books is that they're easy to read. They're very engaging, and the themes explored, while some of them can be heavier, they're not overall, as a blanket statement, dark, heavy books. So I think when you're reaching for a book and you're trying to determine if reading is going to be, a new hobby for you and something you want to keep going with, I think you need to reach for something that you're interested in. Like, even if it's long, I think you have to want to keep turning the pages. So maybe read the first chapter, read the first 2 chapters before you get it, or before you, commit to finishing it, just to see if the plot is intriguing to you. Go for things that aren't super hard to read. Maybe the language used is too complex to get through in a normal amount of time. You're probably going to, if you're like me, inadvertently put pressure on yourself to finish books in a normal amount of time. And obviously everyone's going to have a different definition of normal. But when I first started reading again, I didn't want to read a super long book because I was afraid I was going to give up on it. So I went for books that I know, even if I didn't finish them in a day, I could finish them in a week and I would feel that was a comfortable amount of time reading for me. Or maybe 2 weeks, but I couldn't go for something too big because I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to finish it. Just summarizing, I think go for something easy. Go for something fun. Go for something that you're super interested in and try and keep it a little light. I think that's probably the advice I'd give myself looking back. And obviously don't be afraid to put a book down and say, you know what, that's not for me. Or maybe I'll pick it up later. that's probably one of the best tips that I've gotten, at least. All right, so I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!